Welcome to the Political Island Podcast with your host Josh. I'm Josh, your host, where we only talk about the most important goings-on in politics. And today we are going to start with Pokemon Go. Mike Murphy at Quartz was reporting how a letter sent by, Representative from New Jersey Frank Pallone, Diana DeJet of Colorado, and Jan Schakowsky of Illinois sent a letter to Niantic Labs asking them about how Niantic is warning consumers that their data is being used, trying to protect consumers that they don't use too much data on, if they're warned that it could use too much data, because the nanny state needs to take care of us very dumb citizens who can't take care of our own cell phone bills, apparently. The letter listed like 4 different things all about user data, and all of these people sit on the Energy and Commerce Committee in the House. They are all 3 Democrats. Surprise! Not a Republican among them, and not to mention they're all in New Jersey, Illinois, which are blue states, and then you got Colorado, probably just some woman up there getting high, just like, what if Pokemon Go uses too much data? To which a staffer should have said, I don't know, man, let's get some Cheetos. And she's like, nah, I'm gonna write a letter because the corporations are getting all corporation-y and keeping the man down. We gotta do something, Anyway, those are the champions of the people, asking the creators of Pokemon Go about your cell phone bill to protect you. Heroes. Also, during a Secretary of State press conference, article written by Rachel Chason from CNN, State Department spokesman John Kirby was talking about the ongoing efforts of the anti-ISIS coalition and how we're going to move forward with snuffing out ISIS in the Middle East and any of the other players around the world. And in the middle of his speech, he looks down, glances at a reporter, and says, "Are you playing that Pokemon thing?" Or it was something like that. And he said, "I was just checking it." And then he finishes the speech, but at the end of his speech, he just had this incredibly condescending look to him, asking him about if he'd caught any, and he says, "There wasn't good reception in here," and then he just turns to the side and looks at another reporter to take questions, but just it's like the most disappointed dad on the planet looking at a reporter. It was delicious and hilarious, and they never named who the reporter was, so lucky guy didn't have his career ended that day. Alright, that's enough Pokemon for now. Let's get into the meat of it. So, Democrat National Convention, it's coming up this week. I'm going to be on here popping out podcast a lot as it keeps coming. It's going to be fun. It's already started off great. Democrat National Committee Chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who is the U.S. representative from Miami-Dade and Florida, has just been ousted from her job right at the beginning of the week of the Democratic National Convention. Now, this is important because Bernie, good old Bernie Sanders, Crazy Bernie, was calling for her resignation a while back ago, saying that the DNC was tipping the scales against him, which isn't what you're supposed to do as a RNC or DNC chairman. The point of the DNC or RNC is to pretty much be the base. You are a non-active player in any of the campaigns. You're just kind of the home base. You keep everyone happy, keep them together, but emails leaked out. Oh, and Democrats and their emails, they just need to stop emailing each other, send stuff by letter or talk to each other, because Democrats cannot be trusted with emails, apparently. These are totally the people who should be writing our regulation laws on the internet. So, the emails come out, and they are clearly in favor of trying to help Hillary, having people who are on the board trying to help Hillary. And one of my favorite things that I've read over the weekend is Jim Hoft over at the Gateway Pundit put together a list of emails that had been leaked that are hilarious. Let me read them to you now. DNC member killing horses for insurance money. DNC making fun of black woman's name. DNC telling each other, quote, "I love you too, no homo," end quote. DNC requesting a pull to pull an MSNBC commentary segment, DNC controlling the narrative with time-released stories, DNC conspiring to create false Trump information and release with Reuters, DNC supporters infiltrating a Sanders campaign, DNC members going to complain to Morning Joe producers about his mentioning of DNC discussing their relationship with NBC, MSNBC, CNN, and how to get better treatment, and Super PAC paying young voters to push back online Sanders supporters. There is a whole list of other ones that I'm not going to make y'all listen to, but my favorite was one of the heads of the DNC trying to gain some more points in some southern states by referring to Bernie Sanders' religion. Now, in case you don't know, Bernie Sanders identifies himself as Jewish. He hadn't exactly come out and said that he's religiously Jewish, which apparently he is, but the Hillary Clinton campaign was trying to force out for him to say that he was either atheist or religiously Jewish before the West Virginia and Kentucky primaries. So, Democrats are here to unite us. I guess that was the problem, is that they wanted to make sure that Bernie wasn't clinging too tightly to his guns and religion. So that's going to overshadow, that's going to be the launching point for the Democratic National Convention next week. And I can only imagine that Hillary and her campaign aren't exactly excited about that being the beginning. That'll overshadow the entire thing and brings into context the unification of the Democratic Party. Senator Sanders has gone around doing interviews. You can just Google it real quick. And he has been talking to everyone. Everyone's been trying to talk to him, seeing how he feels about it. And I have to say, for the first time in my life, and will be the last time in my life, I've ever felt bad for Bernie Sanders. Because as much as I don't like the guy or whatever, I want there to be a fair fight. There should be a fair fight. And when the DNC, or if it was the RNC who failed, that's how Donald Trump became the nominee for the party, is that the RNC did things fairly. They let the people vote. If they did have some people in their operation trying to help or make Donald Trump lose, they didn't do a very good job. And everyone was up Reince Priebus's butt. Reince Priebus, by the way, is the RNC chair. And they were up his butt about trying to get things changed. Republicans tried to do everything they could before the coronation of Donald J. Trump as the nominee for the Republican Party. When it comes to things that I compete in or used to compete in, I've always been like that. I want to play by the rules. I used to play soccer, and I played defense, and so I wouldn't slide tackle in a malicious way, and I wouldn't push people down until they started to do it to me, because the rules are you can't just shove people down or put your hands in their face. But as soon as they do it, I'm playing by their rules if that's the way they want to play. And Bernie Sanders thought that they were playing by the rules. He didn't have a chance to slide tackle the forward from behind. He didn't have the opportunity to play by their rules, which seems to be a common theme among Democrats, is that there's one set of rules for them and another set of rules for the proletariat. He and his campaign have got to be kicking themselves for saying that we should stop making Hillary's emails a big deal back at their debate several months ago. They just blew it big time. However, Bernie stayed true to Bernie. He offers the kind of puritanical style of socialism, very much the opposite side of what Ted Cruz was to that the brand of conservatism that I've talked about. And I think that's why he got so many young supporters. The Democrat Party likes to talk about diversity, but these young people were in love with this 75-year-old white Jew. And how does that happen? It's because his ideas were pure, raw. They were new and exciting. And maybe you get to be that idealistic for that long because you are naive and you don't play the political game. Now, I realize he's been senator for a while. He knows politics. He knows Vermont politics. But maybe it was. He believed in the system too much, and maybe that's a lesson learned. that centralized power maybe shouldn't have all the control because they pick the winners and losers. Okay, now's the part where we talk about winners. Hillary recently selected Tim Kaine, senator from the Commonwealth of Virginia, to be her running mate, which is a very safe pick. I'm going to tell you what I know about Tim Kaine off the top of my head. I know that he was on the Richmond City Council for a few years, and then he was mayor of the city of Richmond, and he was voted in by a majority black city council, I believe, and then he went on to be, he may have been a representative in there, but he was lieutenant governor, and then he became governor, and then he became senator. And he is a pro-business senator, or a Democrat, which you have to be if you're in Virginia, where you have all the defense contractors, and you want to do tax abatements and all those other kinds of things that help get businesses there. So he's leans, kind of to the right, definitely to the right of Hillary, but to the right. He also is a devout Catholic, does not personally believe in abortion, but believes that the right is held to be able to do so, which can't argue with that, honestly. That's one thing. Your personal life separating from your political life, I think it's noble, and I think it's a good thing to do. I don't see anyone getting excited about him. It's not like Mike Pence from Indiana was exactly an exciting pick either, and I guess vice presidential candidates aren't supposed to be exciting. I think ever since we had McCain pick Palin back in 2008, I think everyone's expecting someone to pick some random state representative from Hawaii or Wyoming or something like that. But Tim Kaine is a boring white guy. Last time I was on here, I talked about it maybe being New Jersey Senator Cory Booker, and I was way wrong. Sorry, guys. I just thought that they would go for a little bit more diversity, but since they are the party of diversity, right? Not the Republicans. But as far as Democrats go, he's pretty much on the opposite side of Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren, which I know a lot of people were hoping for. Especially the Clinton-Warren ticket was a pipe dream for many people. People were talking about it, and there was just absolutely no way that was going to happen. Not enough, even less diversity than the pick that she made with Tim Kaine. And, they're both from Yankee land up there. At least Virginia's in the South, technically. Not to mention that Virginia is a battleground state for Democrats and Republicans. It can go either way, and no one really knows which way it's going to go right now. And that kind of pushes the slider over to the Clinton side, given Kaine's popularity. And one last note in more negligible news, Roger Ailes, who has run Fox News for many moons, has been ousted. He was accused of sexual harassment by Gretchen Carlson, who used to be an anchor on there, and now Megyn Kelly. And apparently some other people have come forward as well. So he's toast, and we'll see what happens. But when you have that many people coming out all at the same time, probably happen. So I'll withhold judgment until then, but with him leaving on top of that, it's not good signs. So I mentioned that in the first place because Donald Trump was out there saying that it's terrible what's happened to Roger and that he feels bad for him. He's a nice guy and all these other things, which is not what you need to do to hit yourself up to people like that. It's a big mistake by Trump, big mistake by his campaign, but this guy is Teflon Trump. I will see if this sticks. I think this might be one that sticks and that the Democrats can really use well against him, especially if it turns out to be true. So that'll be a story that I'll be watching to see how the court proceedings go, if they settle, if it goes to court. But that will be an important part of the Clinton versus Trump campaign, mark my words. Thank you again for listening. I'll be cranking out a couple of more as the Democratic National Convention goes on. I'm sure there'll be lots of fun things to say about it. And it's going to be a circus. We thought that the RNC was going to be the only circus in town. Turns out we got the DNC off to a great start as well. This podcast is now available on iTunes. It's also available in the Google Play Store, and so you can add those to your feed, or you can just download them right here at Podbean. So, thank you again for listening to the Political Island Podcast. Aloha.